Okay. So if you guys don't know what the 17th door is, I recommend you go look it up for yourself. But those of you who are not aware, the shirt I am wearing is a 17th door shirt. It is a Halloween haunt that goes around every year. And they are the best haunted house ever. This isn't like a promotional thing. This is just something that I wanted to say. And I chose to wear this shirt and chose to mention it because the theme and the movie we're going to be reviewing is Halloween Horror Nights type thing, and the movie we're reviewing is Hellfest. So I reviewed this movie back in 2018 when it came out. I saw it in theaters when it came out, and I love this film. Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna be very biased with this because I love Halloween. I love Halloween Horror Night type events. Like, I live in California, so you got Knott's Scary Farm and Six Flags and other parks in different states and countries. And then you got, the big one like Halloween Horror Nights. But anyways, the plot for this movie is that a bunch of teenagers go to that type of event called Hellfest. And a random guy just sneaks into the park. Well, I say sneak, but he literally just walks in, grabs a mask, and grabs a knife that was on like a food stand, and just starts hacking and slashing away at our main characters, and that's the plot of Hellfest. So from that synopsis, it's very basic and generic, and I think that's why it didn't do so hot when it came out. A lot of people were pissed that it was very generic and very standard in terms of slashers. But yeah, okay. So besides that, what else you got to dislike, Because I'll just go ahead and say it. I love this movie. Is it flawed? Oh, yeah. I could nitpick. Nitpick a lot. What's the point? What is the point in nitpicking a film like this? That is the one thing I never understood about people and their opinions on films like this. It's like, why do you choose to nitpick the most mundane shit? Because first of all, let me say that if you're going into this movie knowing what you're going to get, then you're going to have a blast. If you go in this film not expecting anything, you could very well like it. If you're not a horror fan in general, or what am I saying? If you're not like a person who watches horror movies, like if this was your first introduction to horror movies, you'd be like, oh, okay, that was interesting. I might want to see what those other type of horror films are about. I can't see anyone watching this and saying, this is one of the worst films I've ever watched. But enough about me commentating on other people's opinions, because that's something fun that we like to do here, right? What did I like about it? Okay, so it's a slasher, so it automatically gets points. I am a sucker for slashers. I don't really like to watch people die if characters are just thrown in there to just die, it's like, okay, it's cool. Just give us some characters that we don't really care about and just watch them die. It's like, okay, that sounds like a great way to be entertained. But no, what I've always liked about slashers, and especially slashers like these, it's like you actually like the characters you're watching on screen. Granted, the plot's not original and the plot's not really interesting. The whole movie is literally just our main characters going around the park having a good time. But let me give an example, and hopefully this is a good example. Take a very, very, very bad slasher movie like Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. The characters are on the ship for almost the entirety of the film. The movie's called Jason Takes Manhattan, and he doesn't take Manhattan until the last 20 minutes. Okay, so the killer's not doing something interesting that we like to see other than killing people, but, we want to see him enter Manhattan. But then you have the characters which are on the ship that are having a good time and partying, and you don't like any of them. And you don't care if they live or die. The characters in Hellfest, I liked. I mean, they're not original characters, and they're not really that interesting. They are just your bland stereotype teenage characters. But their charisma and acting and personalities, for the most part, are really, interesting and really fun to watch. You got the two main leads who I think I forget their names. So yeah, I like the characters, as you can tell. I remember their names, but I forget names all the time, so it's whatever. But you got our two main leads who are best friends, and they haven't seen each other in a long time, and they kind of bond over one another. The main lead, the main girl, the final girl, she's in love with this one guy, and he's really, really likable. I'm talking, he is one of the most likable characters I've seen in a slasher in a long time. You really come to liking this guy, and you really want to see them, hitch it off. It's kind of like, Friday 13th Part 3. What's his name? Shelly. It's like it's when Shelly's trying to get to know that one girl, but it never really goes anywhere, and you don't really feel the charisma. Here it's like, no, you want to see these two get together, and their acting and the way it's just perfect. And you got the two dudes who admittedly are forgettable, but they're fun. They have a little bro thing where they're like, playing games with each other and talking to each other, and you can just really get the feeling that they are a fun group to hang out with. Like, you can really tell they're friends. And I watched the behind the scenes, and yeah, the director gave them a lot of, there was a lot of room for improv because, it's a slasher, so that's just bound to happen. But he gave them a lot of opportunities to add in their own dialogue and get to know each other before they started filming. And it really, really is believable. And that's the one main thing I like about this movie with the main characters and the characters you're following. So, okay, it's a slasher with likable characters. How are the kills? Because that's one of the main things you want in a slasher, right? Well, as a Christian, I tend to appreciate the gore effects. Not so much as that they're dying, because I don't really want to see people die, but it's just kind of what kind of comes with the fucking film. So, the kills are really brutal in this film. Two in particular, I won't spoil who dies, but one with a sledgehammer, not a sledgehammer, but it's one of those carnival game where you throw the hammer down to try to score points. One guy's killed and his head explodes like a watermelon. It's graphic, and it's probably the most gruesome and disturbing death in the film. And the other one is, I won't spoil who it is, but it's a needle in the eye. And watching behind the scenes on that, man, that was cool, man. I gotta be honest, that was a really cool effect and how they pulled that off. But yeah, the kills for the most part were creative. There's not a lot of like if you told me this was a PG-13 horror movie, I'd believe you, besides the two kills. Because the other kills, they're all right, it's just stabbing and whatever. There's some blood, but nothing like too graphic. But, for hardcore slasher fans, there's definitely a lot to appreciate. For example, I really, really like our main villain. He is very creepy, and I love his name, The Other. That's a name I have not heard before of a villain, and he's really good, man. Like, he's got that Michael Myers charisma where he's just like, yeah, that's my Michael Myers impression. So the actor did a really good job portraying him in the body movement and the body language and the creepy humming he does as he walks towards our main characters. It's very ominous. And the soundtrack, when it's very humming, it's really terrible. But the soundtrack when he's on screen is very spooky and very ominous. And let me just say, man, the production design for this film is fucking incredible. Excuse my language, but it's incredible, man. Like, I could not believe everything I was seeing on screen. I mean, yeah, it's a slasher, but there's a lot to appreciate with slashers, especially this one. The fact that they put so much effort into the actual, haunts and the mazes and attractions and the actual park. I mean, they literally they designed an actual map layout for this amusement park that they actually filmed at. Whatever that was. Spoiler alert, it's my TV. And you can really feel the effort that was put into it, even though some people would just call this movie a generic slasher, which admittedly it is, because I do have some faults with it. For one, it is very formulaic and very cliche. There's not a lot of new materials or, that's pretty much it. There's not a lot of new material here. There's not really a lot of new grounds being broken, but who cares? If you know what you're getting into, you're not going to be looking for stuff like that. But I could see a lot of people still finding issue with that. Overall, the movie's entertaining, but if you don't find a bunch of likable characters walking around doing fun shenanigans, then you're not going to like this film. Because other people don't want to watch type of stuff like this. They want to watch very artsy-fartsy type films, and that's okay. It's not for everyone, but I really personally enjoyed it. But it is a generic slasher, but there's a lot to appreciate. But I will say, some of the problems I had with it was some of the decision making. Like, towards the end, I feel like the characters just became idiotically stupid for no reason. Like, yeah, the whole film, you're being stalked by this killer, and he's out to get you. So when you got him pinned down to the ground, and this is one thing that slashers do that I do not like, and this is a cliche I really hate, because it's stupid. It just makes the story feel like it's, dragging, is when they get the killer down, they don't finish the job. They knock him down, and then they drop the weapon and run away. And not only that, but one of the dumbest ad-lib lines I've ever seen is when they're running away from the killer and the park is getting ready to shut down and everything. They run towards a haunt entrance, and they say, "I think this is the exit." And I immediately rolled my eyes saying, "You think a haunt, like an entrance to a Halloween haunt, is the exit?" Sure, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay, I'll believe that. And like I said, there's a few kills that are really cool and there's a lot of stuff to appreciate in the kills, but I think towards the last 20 minutes, the kills just they're really uneventful and not as crazy. Like, I mean, literally, you have this perfectly set up kill where a girl's going to get beheaded, and she escapes, and she just gets stabbed. And then her boyfriend comes in and he gets stabbed. Again, I won't spoil who it is, but it's like, oh, okay. So there are some issues I have with it. There's some logic issues I have with this film. Like, I don't think an actual Halloween Horror Night event would have this big of an event. But, it's a movie. It's exaggerated. It's meant to be fun. And if you go into this film knowing what you're going to get, you're going to have a blast, because I certainly did. The more I rewatch this film, the more I find new things to appreciate. And the older I get, the more I understand its faults. But I just simply don't care, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I'm entertained, then you've succeeded. And I was entertained enough to give this movie an A-. An A-. I said it. Yes. Am I stupid? Yes. Do I care? No. Because it's a good movie.